Good morning to the second year students. Today's topic is about pharmacology. In pharmacology, that is, we are dealing with the severe system. In severe system, we already completed the antihypertensives group of classification is also completed totally. Now we'll deal with the anti-anginal and anti-ischemic drugs. So it is related to the angina or anti-angina or anti-ischemic. Because of ischemia, there will be an anginal attack. So we have some of the drugs to relieve this anginal effect or ischemic attack to the heart. So we'll see one by one what is meant by angina. So angina, it is an ischemic, it is a main symptom of ischemic heart disease. Mostly when the patient is having angina, patient may feel pain syndrome. The pain syndrome that may be radiating to the back or jaw or to the hand, it may be radiating pain. Moreover, there will be an imbalance between the myocardial oxygen supply and myocardial oxygen demand. So more probably myocardium required more oxygen, one thing, and what will be happening over here, myocardial oxygen supply will be decreased because decreased, and myocardium is also requires demand of oxygen, more oxygen. Because of this, it may leads to the ischemia. So there are two types of angina. Actually, we seen in the pathology two types of angina. What is a classic angina and variant angina, presumental angina, or vasospastic angina. This is the uncommon form. These attacks are common mainly due to increased in oxygen demand. This attack, it mainly due to because of increased of oxygen demand in the myocardial cells. This variant angina, it will occurs only mainly due to decreased oxygen supply. So it is so we are seeing that when there is an oxygen supply will be decreased. So both when oxygen demand will be decreased and when oxygen supply will be decreased. When there is any ischemia or when there is any plaque formation, that is atherosclerosis formation, or anything that may lead to the increasing of oxygen demand or decreasing of the oxygen supply to the myocardium. So that is the thing, make it clear. And then classical angina mostly occurs after exercise, stress, etc. So this is a common form. It is because of more strenuous exercises. At that time, the demand will be increased. Definitely, when you do any exercises or do any strenuous exercises, your oxygen demand will be increased. So only we advise to have some breathing sorts of exercises, breathe in, breathe out type of exercises, so that oxygen demand will be equal, and then stress will be decreased also. And moreover, in this angina, mostly it is due to because of any coronary spasm, vasospasm. Because of the coronary vasospasm, it can be leads. So because of the stress, the oxygen demand will be increased. Due to any spasm or anything, this oxygen supply will be decreased. So you make it clear that when there is a spasm, decreased oxygen supply. When there is an increased demand, because of exercise. So don't get confused. Think it little bit clear. So we'll see in MedSurg also, we'll see this topic just regarding the, I'm giving introduction, that's it. So we'll go with the organic nitrates. So some of the organic nitrates are there. These organic nitrates will help us to relieve the spasm. Smooth muscle will make the vascular smooth muscle relaxation. So mostly it is an because it is but this pharmacokinetical profile will be different. So mechanism of action may be we'll see one. The major action of this may be on the smooth muscle relaxation. So major action it can be seen on smooth muscle relaxation. How it will relax? It has some biochemical reactions. So in myocardial cells there will be some of the biochemical reactions. Because of this, what will be happening? It may result in the smooth muscle relaxation. Because of this smooth muscle relaxations, these veins and arterioles will get dilated. It may lead, because of this dilation, it may lead to the peripheral blood pool. Because of this dilation of the veins and other arterioles, it may lead to the pooling of the blood. So peripherally, the pooling of the blood and decreased venous return can be seen. So venous return, whenever the venous return is decreased, what will be happening? Venous return decreased, obviously the venous return, it should not be decreased. Why? Because it may lead to the output decrease also. So it may result in the output release, may lead to the heart failure. So this results in decreased preload. So preload, afterload ante all of you know, you people know preload and after the load. So this result in preload on the heart, decreased preload on the heart. So and then fail in the diastolic pressure. So there will be failure in the diastolic pressure. So this way all nitrates undergo extension. First pass, it may go through the metabolism, it can be go through the liver, and then it can be take it as a sublingual, or if may take sublingual also, it may go through the liver itself. And then first of all, in this major action, this is having some of the biochemical action. This biochemical action is activates the cytogluconyl cyclase, thereby increasing the intracellular GCM. So this GCM, what will cause? This GCM will cause the phosphorylation of myosin light chains. This may causes the reduced availability of phosphorylated myosin light chains, result in smooth muscle relaxation. So overall, you remember this is a biochemical change. Sometimes you may get confused with this. You may remember that the major organic nitrates will act on the specific, that is the smooth muscles, that will act on the smooth muscles. It may causes the smooth muscle relaxation. So smooth muscle relaxation, right, if they use the most, it is a prominent action is the most prominent action that can be seen, vascular smooth muscle relaxation. So moreover, when these nitrates preferentially, what may lead? It may lead to the dilation of the veins and then more than the arterioles. So it may dilate the veins and the arterioles. It leads to the peripheral pooling of the blood. Because of the peripheral pooling of the blood can be seen, so venous return can be decreased. Because of this whenever the venous return is decreased, preload of the heart and the failure of it may causes the failure of the diastolic pressure. So sometimes it may also leads. So what will happen in this with these nitrates, we are giving some of the combination drugs also. So to prevent this further damage, we'll give when there is an angina, first of all we'll generally use to give this GTN, that is a glycerol trinitrate. So this drug can be given sublingually, where it may pass through the liver for the metabolism. So generally it can be given. So with these drugs, we'll give some more drugs also to prevent further damage to the heart. So when we see this is nitroglycerin. So nitroglycerin, it is an volatile liquid. It is a volatile liquid, and this mostly this can be, tablets must be dispensed and stored in the glass containers. So it can be stored in the glass containers, and it must be protected from the moisture or light. So And moreover, this can help us to prevent the acute anginal attacks, and then to prevent the chronic anginal attacks, or to treat the pain from the chronic anal fissures also, and to produce controlled hypotension during surgeries. So mostly to produce the controlled hypotension during surgeries, and to treat the hypertension also in post-operatively and pre-operatively. It has to be given. And then in case of congestive heart failures, pulmonary edema, unstable anginas, and acute myocardial infarction it also main. The most common adverse effect occurs because of vasodilatation. So it may causes the mostly this is the adverse effect. This abrupt vasodilatation it may causes the. And then so when we give this drug, we have to remember this adverse effect. Definitely we have to ask regarding the any headaches. Mainly throbbing headache can be seen, so we have to ask to them. So to certain extent there should be a dilatation, but if it is prolonged, the dilatation has been prolonged, it may lead to the pooling of the blood, and then peripheral accumulation of the blood. Because of the peripheral accumulation of the blood, there will be a heart failure. So and then decreased diastolic pressure also. So we have to observe. It may lead to the hypotension and may lead to the heart failure also. So we have to observe for this adverse effects mainly when we give this drug. So and then available forms, it can be available as a 0.5 mg capsule, so 2.5 mg, and then 6.5 mg it will available. Injection it will available as a 5 mg per ml. When you go to the wards, you are having that nitroglycerin. So the nitroglycerin you can available drug in our hospitals. So you can see that 5 mg per ml. Ointment, mostly it also used as an ointment, that is a 2%, and mainly patches. So patches is a 5 mg and 10 mg patches. We are also having some of the sprays also, 0.4 mg per spray. So per spray there will be getting, we are getting the per 0.4 mg. And then pharmacokinetics, mostly the route may be sublingual. Mostly this drug can be given as a sublingual. And then onset of action 1 to 2 minutes. The peak concentration can be seen in the blood, that is a 3 to 6 minutes. And then half-life will be 1 to 4 minutes. Duration of the action can be 30 to 60 minutes. So this bioavailability is nothing but the substances which can, whenever we introduce anything into through the mouth or through the IV, that the drug or the substances that will be circulated in the blood, that is called as an bioavailability. So the oral bioavailability of this GNT is very low, 10 to 20%, due to first phase metabolism, because in first phase itself the metabolism will be seen in the liver. For this reason it can be given in the sublingual route. Mostly it can be given for this reason only. Oral route will be very decreased, so because of it will give in the sublingual route, which that may bypasses the liver and avoids the first phase effect. So mostly it may avoid the metabolism in the liver, so it may prevent the metabolism in the liver, and then when we give in the sublingual, so it may have a bad effects when it is gone through the metabolism in the liver. And ask them not only this GTN and isobarbate dinitrate are both absorbed efficiently by this route. So mostly these both drugs, we'll see this drug afterwards. So these both drugs are given in the same route, and therapeutical blood levels are attained within few minutes. So this is the thing. And then we'll go with the indications and dosages. When we see this indication, to treat any attack of angina pectoris or to prevent chronic anginal attacks. So sublingually, when you give this tablet, as soon as angina, it has to be given as soon as angina begins. One tablet will be given, that is a 0.5 mg, that has to be crushed under the teeth and spread under the tongue or over the buccal mucosa. You got it? So you have to say to the patient, so you have to get this in your mind. So what we have to do, when you give sublingually, it has to be crushed under the teeth. So the tablet, it has to be crushed in the teeth and spread all over the tongue, over the buccal mucosa, all over the tongue and over the buccal mucosa. Repeat this same. Sometimes when it is not sufficient, if there is a recurrent attack, at that time repeat this after the 5 minutes. If required, it has to be given 3 tablets for 15 minutes. So it has to be given. And this is a lingual spray. So as soon as angina begins, when we have a spray, so we can give this spray 1 to 2 doses sprays. So metered doses sprays can be given. So 0.4 to 0.8. So 1 to 2 doses, one spray is 0.4. So when we give 2 months, 0.8. So preferably it can be given. Preferably it can be given under the tongue. So it can be given under the tongue. To prevent chronic anginal attacks, the adult's dose can be 2.5 to 6.5 mg. Orally 3 to 4 days can be given. Ointment 15 to 30 mg applied topically to the skin. So it can be applied topically to the skin. So every 8 hours while awake at the bedtime. So when you awake at the bedtime, it can give this 15 to 30 mg can be applied to the skin. And transdermal it also be given. So transdermal means some type of patches. So these patches may be 0.1 to 0.0 mg per hour. It can be applied to the intact skin once daily. So once daily it can be attached. And to prevent tolerance, leave the patch for 12 to 14 hours. So this patch can be kept for 12 to 14 hours and then remove after the 10 to 12 hours. Because mostly in your clinical area you will used to give this sublingual tablets, and then one more thing is a transdermal patches. So you have to remember 2 things. One is ask the patient to crush it under the teeth, and it has to be spread over the tongue or over the buccal mucosa. One thing. When it is in the transdermal, you have to observe when it has kept. So it has the patch 12 to 14 hours or 12 to 10 hours you can remove this patch. So this is the peak time for keeping these patches. So remember to this point. And then indications and dosages. When the hypertension post-operative controlled hypotension and hypertension. So controlled hypertension ante sometimes in some type of surgeries or in some type of things we have to maintain the patient in control. So in control with a low BP, so that that will be relieved. So that is called as a controlled hypotension. So the hypotension should be in a controlled way. So it should not be increased or it should not be decreased. So to maintenance of the dose, to maintain also this nitroglycerin is also given. So mostly hypertension in hypertension post-operatively, pre-operatively it can be given. Initially 5 micrograms per minute continuous IV infusion can be kept, 5 micrograms, and it will be increased every minute 3 to 5 minutes until response occurs. So maximum 100 micrograms per minute can be increased. And coming to the drug interaction, when we see these drug interactions, mostly when some of the antihypertensives like calcium beta blockers, calcium channel blockers and phenothiazines, so concurrent in use may cause, sometimes because of this these hypertensions and anti-angina, this concurrent use may lead to the hypotension because of vasodilatation. And heparin is IV nitrates may interfere with the anticoagulant effect of heparin. So mostly it may interfere in the anticoagulant action. Alcohol mostly it may cause the hypotension. So we have to discourage the use. So adverse effect, vasodilatation effect, mostly throbbing headache can be seen. So that has to be remembered in your mind. Other side effects like dizziness, syncope, weakness, postural hypotension, CNS, headache, dizziness, drowsiness, syncope, weakness, vertigo, postural hypotension, tachycardia, palpitation, facial flushing, nausea, vomiting, cutaneous vasodilatation, rash, contact dermatitis, another hypersensitivity reaction, and with myoglobinemia. So with myoglobinemia and sublingual burning. Sometimes the patient may feel this type of symptoms also. So contraindications when it is a hypersensitivity to the organic nitrates, early MI, severe anemia, increased intracranial pressure, or sometimes angular closure of the glaucoma, and then hypertrophic obstruction of the cardiac myopathy. So we have to remember these points when you are giving this drug, when you are giving this anti-anginal drug. This will be contraindication. So most probably when you give this nitroglycerin, so you have to remember regarding the indications and contraindications of this drug, and then most probably we have to remember 2 points. One, when you give in the sublingual, it has to be crusted under the teeth and it has to be spread over the buccal and over the tongue, one thing. And one more thing is that when you keep this patch, it can be removed after the 12 to 14 hours or 10 to 12 hours. So this, and then moreover hypersensitivity reactions, we have to remember any eye surgeries that is related to angular closure of the glaucoma, hypertrophic obstruction of the cardiac myopathies. So mostly mostly it can be seen in old age, so it has to be, you have to be very cautious. So one more drug, nitroglycerin, and then isosorbate D-nitrate. So this is a isosorbate D-nitrate. This is one of the solid and same pharmacological action. It is also given in the sublingual. This is the sorbitrate, also we call as sorbitrate. It is used to treat an anginal attack, one thing, and oral to prevent chronic anginal attack. So oral, when you give sublingual, it helps us to prevent the anginal attack. When it is a chronic anginal attack, it can give orally. Adverse effects are same, so same adverse effects of GTN. Isosorbate dinitrate undergoes first phase of metabolism, first pass of metabolism, and mainly metabolized in the liver to isosorbate 2 mononitrate and isosorbate 5 mononitrate, which have a long life for 3 to 6 hours and are assumed to contribute the efficacy of the drug. So mostly when you see this nitroglycerin, it will not will prevent the metabolism in the liver to prevent further complication, one thing. And then this drug having a special action of it will be metabolized in the liver 3 to 6, it may have a 3 to 6 hours. So when you give orally, when you metabolize in the liver, there will be no good effect. So here the efficacy of the drug, when it is metabolized in the liver, it will have a good efficacy. So mostly and one more thing is isosorbate mononitrate, dinitrate, mononitrate. So these mononitrate active metabolites, so it is a unique drug. It does not undergo first pass hepatic metabolism, so it is also does not when given orally. So hence it is bioavailability is very high, so it will be seen in the circulation, it will be very high, significantly long acting than the dinitrate. So it is also having a long acting than the nitrate. And orally, chronic prophylaxis angina pectoris. So prophylactic treatment can be given as a oral angina pectoris. So some of more anti-ischemic drugs are calcium channel blockers. So we'll see, we had already completed this calcium channel blocker, so I'm not going in detail, so you can see over there you have to mention. So some of the calcium channel blockers, so in calcium channel blockers, diltiazem, nifedipine, nimodipine, verapamil. So and some of the beta blockers. So beta blockers, metoprolol, propranolol and LOL type of drugs. So and one more last thing is platelet aggregating inhibitors. So this platelet aggregating inhibitors, so these platelet aggregating inhibitors, we have low dose aspirin, clopidogrel type of drugs. So we'll give in combination with these drugs. So when the patient is in angina, we definitely will give this aspirin type of drug, one thing, and clopidogrel to have a platelet aggregation. So the platelet should be aggregated. The platelet aggregation should be prevented. So to prevent this so the platelet aggregation will leads to the plaque formation. So to prevent that, low dose of aspirin and clopidogrel type of drugs can be given. And with this, metoprolol and the one type of antihypertensive is also given. So overall in this classification, when you see this classification, we have Now that is a nitroglycerin, one drug, and then one more drug is a isosorbate mononitrate and isosorbate dinitrate and calcium channel blockers and beta blockers and platelet aggregation inhibitors. So this is the classification of the anti-ischemic and anti-anginal drugs. So this is the thing. So this platelet aggregation inhibitors, this is a separate topic. We'll see in the we'll see in the blood topic. So blood, in CVS blood is also there. So we are having some more drugs. So we'll see separate. So when you got this question, like you have to list out, classify anti-ischemic drugs. So classify anti-ischemic drugs or classify anti-anginal drugs and write any one of the detailed, or write regarding the platelet aggregation inhibitors, or write regarding calcium channel blockers, or write regarding beta blockers, or write regarding nitroglycerins or isosorbate nitrates. So you have to write this whole classification. The classification, the nitroglycerin, isosorbate nitrates, isosorbate mononitrate, dinitrate, calcium channel blockers, beta blockers, platelet aggregation inhibitors. So this is the classification. Some more drugs you have to mention in those drugs. After that, you have to explain any one of the drug in that, so that it will be completed. So this is regarding, and one more thing we'll see with the nursing consideration. We have to the patient will be having a severe pain, so we have to assess the characteristic of the pain, when it is starting, how much duration it there, what are all the aggregating factors. So when the patient may feel, when sitting he may feel more pain, or when he is sleeping sometimes that has to be noted. Assess for vital signs. So definitely vital signs, BP, pulse, respirations before or any drug which is pertaining to the heart. So definitely you keep in your mind or remember in your mind that you have to see the vitals before giving the drug or after giving the drug. Definitely that has to be good. And do not give chewable tablets of preparation more than 5 mg. Mostly that is having a prescription, so we won't give more than 5 mg drugs, because you people know. So increased dose may leads to the hypotension. How? Because of severe vasodilatation effect. Because of that, it may have so that has to be prevented. Administer and teach about the administration of the drug on empty stomach 1 hour before or 2 hours after the food. So that has to be it. And if uncontrolled headache, so that has to be remembered. Uncontrolled headache or persist that take with food. So that it has to be taken with the food. Teach about the placement of the tablet between the lip and gum, or between the cheek and the gum. That has to be remembered. So I have told that point. And instruct the patient to take the drug before stressful activities or any intercourse or exercises or field work, anything that. And instruct not to consume alcohol, and instruct patient not to involve any hazardous activities, and then it may have a dizziness and sometimes postural hypertension also. Definitely the drug should not be discontinued in between the drug, and which should not be, because we are having some withdrawal problems. And inform the patient about the sting which may come after the use of the sublingual medication. Instruct not to change the dose without. So that instruct the patient not to change the dose without physician's order. So these are some of the points. And one more thing, 3 points I have discussed, so that remember that 3 points. So with this, there is anti-anginal and anti. So this is a very important chapter. Please girls, learn this questions very neatly, because I have completed. So you write the question as classify antihypertensives. So classify antihypertensives means you have to write ACE inhibitors, ACE beta receptor inhibitors, and then one more thing, vasodilators and calcium channel blockers, beta blockers, and some of the drugs are diuretics are also there. So this is some of the central sympholytics. So that is the classification of the antihypertensive. So we have seen the anti-ischemia and anti-anginal drugs. So this is the classification of the anti-ischemia and anti-anginal drugs. So next classes we'll see that is a congestive cardiac failure. So in that next chapter is congestive cardiac failure. So we'll see that is also we'll see the classification of the congestive cardiac failure. So this is regarding this. Thank you for listening and give your attendance without